Oops. Got ahead of myself there. Hello and welcome to Knit Tea Live. Yes, it's Sunday morning. It is the regularly bi-monthly right now scheduled Knit Tea Live. I hope that you're having a wonderful Sunday. Thank you so much for joining me live. If you are coming now, if you are watching on the replay, welcome. So glad you could catch up with us at some point in your day. Whether you're watching live or on the replay, chat. If you're watching live, please chat with me. This is a conversation. And if you're watching on the replay, you can always comment down below and join the conversation. I do check comments. I do respond to them. So it is never too late to hop into the conversation from Knit Tea Live. Yes. Need to get up here. There we go. Sorry, got a little distracted by something on the screen. So also, if you're joining, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, because that helps YouTube know that this is a space we're checking out. It then suggests me to other people, and we can keep growing this community. We are at over 1,100 subs now. So exciting. So exciting. So hello, Mr. Me. Thank you for being here this morning. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, my hair. I did get my hair done last Sunday, so it is cut short. The dead end, the split ends are gone. I got highlights in. Finally, I have missed my highlights so much. And yeah, and I'm trying new ways. I'm trying the curly girl method. If you don't know what that is a particular way of managing your curls. I think I am a 2C or a 3A, but I'm pretty sure I'm a 2C, which is technically wavy hair. But anyway, yes. So, but thank you for the compliment. I greatly appreciate it. Hello, UF. Hello, Whitney. Welcome back. It's been a while since you've been able to join us live. So glad you could be here. Oh, man, I know. I got my Katigo mug. I'm so glad you could be here today. Let's see. I have notes, by the way. I have notes, so I'm going to try to be more organized with my Knit Tea Live and be a little less squirrel about it. We'll see if it works. It worked really well last week when I did my Knit Tea Live after hours, if you watched that. So, by the way, also quick plugs. One, Super Chats is on. So if you want to, help a YouTuber out, help support the channel, you can always do a live tip through the Super Chat system, and you can donate as little as $1 if you'd like, or tip. I should say tip. It's a tip. As little as $1 or as much as you want. And what it does is it highlights your comment, and as long as your comment is something I feel falls within my own standards, which you all do, you guys are so great, then, it'll get premiered during the live stream. Mr. Me about my hair. Sorry to say I didn't understand any of that. Well, split ends and highlights made sense. Yeah, I know. Curly hair is a whole, I am discovering there's a whole online community dedicated to curly hair maintenance. So, and it is its own language, and I'm learning it. But that is, so, yeah, I'm crafting my curls now. It's one of my crafts. Everything to me is a craft, So, anyway, see, I just did that. I just did squirrel. But so Super Chats is on, and also down in the description box, you will find my affiliate links, which if you click on affiliate link and you do a little shopping, I may then earn a small commission. So thank you so much if you use one of my affiliate links. It does help support the channel. Any tips I receive, any commissions I receive, those get reinvested back into the channel so that I can buy supplies, I can buy products for review, I can update in my equipment and keep improving this channel and hopefully make this community even more enjoyable to be a part of. All right, so got past the plugs. Yay. So what are we talking about this week? So this week, sorry, I gotta scroll down here. So this week, a couple of things we're going to do this week. And I'm actually going to have you help me decide the order to talk about things. So one is I'm going to do a little bit of house cleaning, just a squidge of house cleaning on the Ravelry Manifesto and my Impromptu Knit Tea Live after hours that I did last Saturday to discuss the Cassidy's manifesto that she posted on her Ravelry About Me page. I just got a couple of quick clarifications, a couple of quick points that I just wanted to bring up. It's going to be very short. So if you're interested in me talking about that right away, let me know in the chat. If you'd rather I wait, let me know that in the chat as well. All right, now is the time to help direct this live stream. The other thing we're going to talk about is the title of the video, which is things in crafting that make us go, Now, I'll be honest, when I first thought of this idea for a video, I thought I'd actually talk about things that make us cringe, that we see other crafters do, but I felt like that might be unnecessarily negative and sound judgy, because it is kind of judgy, let's be honest. And I thought, what's another way of looking at it? And I thought, what? It might be more about, and this is what I really want to talk about, which is things that we see other crafters do that have us reconsider our own habits. Maybe it's something that we've learned new, like some new trick or tip that we look and go, that's interesting. Maybe I should try that myself. Or even something where it's like you've been a stalwart fan of a certain way of doing things, but then somebody explains why they do something, how they like to do it, and you reconsider your own perspective. So, because you go, maybe I need to rethink how I've been approaching this in my crafting life, or just something that does make you cringe, where you're just like, well, they enjoy it. I'm not going to say anything, but, that hurts my soul a little bit. Because we all have them. I mean, we do. We all have our preferences, and we all have reasons why we approach crafting techniques, specifically knitting or crochet or any fiber art or any craft, the way that we do. And sometimes there's things that we see people do, and you're like, it's great that they do it that way, and I'm not going to say anything to them, but yeah, I struggle. It wouldn't be my choice. Wouldn't be my choice. And, that's part of human nature, I think. Anyway, so that's the main topic. So let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat which you'd like to start with. A little bit of house cleaning on Ravelry and the manifesto, or with the main topic for the day. Once we get through those two things, we will do a pattern spotlight. There are some new things in Fiber Happenings that we'll highlight, but I'm going to do a designer spotlight today because I haven't done one of those in a while, and I came across a designer actually in my Fiber Indie list that I hadn't really focused much on. So I thought I'd give that designer a bit of, attention. Let you know who's in the Fiber Indie list, because it still exists. Let's see. Whitney says manifesto. Mr. Me says manifesto. You guys constantly surprise me. I thought you guys were going to be all like, nah, just save the manifesto to the end. Let's get to the main topic. But manifesto it is, because we are ready to start chatting. Let me make sure. Actually, I'm pretty sure I got through all of my stuff there. Yes. Okay. So let me get down to my notes. No. House cleaning. Here we go. Okay. So, excuse me as I clear my throat. Let me drink some more coffee from my Contigo mug. All right. I'm a little gunky this morning. So if you don't know, if you are not up to date, I'll do just a quick recap on the manifesto and what happened last weekend and why I hyped on a unscheduled live stream last Saturday, which is, let me make sure I have the right thing queued up. Okay, here we go. So last week on Twitter, this came up. This one? Yeah. And this was a tweet that went on the Ravelry, official Ravelry Twitter page. Can I make this bigger? Sure I can. No? There we go. There we go. You can see it better now. And it was clearly from Cassidy because it was signed off Cass. So it reads, if you are a fiber artist who has interest or experience in decentralization, please take a look at the manifesto in my Rav profile. Has a link to that Ravelry, her About Me page on Ravelry. And get in touch if it lights you up. I know that there must be folks out there, and I like to make some connections. Cass. To say that this created a bit of a stir on Twitter last weekend would be an understatement. It was the hot topic. It was the hot topic for shizzle. Boy, pulled that out of the root cellar, didn't I? Anyway, it was a hot topic. And I won't go into all the details of what was in the manifesto. If you are interested, down the description box, I will add some more links that will help just explain it, but there is a link to my live stream last week, and I have tons of timestamps if you want to get to the pertinent information. Speaking of my live stream last week that I did about this, let me know if you're interested in me doing a cut down version of that live stream where basically I cut out the rambly stuff and I just concentrate on the essentials of the live stream. Let me know if you're interested in that. I'm happy to edit it down and do a shortened video for that. But yeah, so the upshot of this manifesto from Cassidy, I'm summarizing, it was Cassidy sees the database that is the core of Ravelry that has all the patterns in it as not belonging to her, even though it belongs to her, or I should say it belongs to the Ravelry LLC, whose sole proprietors are Jessica and Cassidy Forbes, but that it belongs to the community. It was built by the community. It belongs to the community, and that the database really should be decentralized, community owned, and Cassidy kind of reaching out saying, hey, I have an API. If you want to make use of our database, get in touch with me. We're not competitive. I'm happy to work with anybody. And then the manifesto went on to sort of imagine in the future one day utilizing a feature in the cryptocurrency world called an NFT, which stands for non-fungible token, and that is a whole larger conversation. But down in the description box, there is a link to a blog post by Victoria Marchant of Victoria Marchant Knits, where she actually does a really good job of explaining what an NFT is, like what it is and how it works and why it's devastating to the environment. It's a whole big topic. I talked about it extensively last week. I did my best to explain it in my I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer, I'm not into cryptocurrency, I'm just reading a bunch of stuff on Google, and this is how I understand it way. But a couple things I wanted to just follow up on in terms of that live stream last week and this whole thing about pattern designs and NFTs and APIs. So let's start with API. First of all, thanks to Victoria Marchant, there is a much clearer explanation of what an API is than what I gave last week. So I wanted to share that with everybody because this is just a really concise explanation. And its API stands for Application Programming Interface, not Application Processing Interface like I said in my live stream, but I was trying to remember. Anyway, but API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's a bit of code, basically, that sits between a system, like a Ravelry's database, and an interface, and dictates how data flows in and out of that system. So basically, it's a way for one app to speak to another app to use information in that other app, like the database, the Ravelry database. delete. And the thing about all this was there was a lot of conversation last week had to do with sort of the issues around NFT, whether that makes any sense for knitwear designers. Spoiler alert, not really. But I think actually the main thrust of the manifesto had to do with this business around Ravelry's API. Ravelry has had an API for quite a long time. You might be aware, maybe you're not, but if you're not aware, or if you are, come on, Score, pull it together. All right. Ravelry's had an API for a long time. Ravelry, I would say, famously refuses to develop its own app for phones or tablets or anything like that, which is, I understand why, because they do keep such a small staff, and just building and maintaining an app is a whole job in and of itself. But there are some third-party companies who have developed apps that allow you to use their app on your phone to search the Ravelry database. That app uses the Ravelry API in order to get into the Ravelry database and to let you search that database through their third-party application. Here's the thing about an API, though. It is a bit of coding, and the API is owned by Ravelry LLC, whose sole proprietor is Cassidy and Jessica Forbes. They're the sole officers of the LLC. And the thing about their API is it has a terms of use, which totally makes sense. You know, you have to follow the guidelines that Ravelry puts forth in order to utilize their API. And Kathleen Sterling did a brilliant blog that is linked to down in the description box, explaining just how the API and the terms of use of the API very much belie Cassidy's manifesto, which is something I talked about extensively last week's live stream, but I just think she did a really great job of illustrating the point by looking at the terms of use. And I'm going to just highlight one thing from her blog, and I really encourage you to read the whole thing if you're interested at all in it. But I just wanted to quote her. Oops, there we go. That's the larger one. I'm going to just read what she had to say here. So this is a quote from Cassidy's manifesto. "We are not competitive. I would love to assist in fostering an open and supportive ecosystem of businesses any way I can." The problem, though, is the terms of use for the Ravelry API speaks against this. The terms of use specifically says the API may only be used for commercial applications whose primary audience is Ravelry users unless Ravelry expressly allows otherwise. So if you are someone who doesn't want to use Ravelry, what that's saying is, well, your application needs to be for Ravelry users, unless expressly allows otherwise. So they're allowing an exception, but you gotta talk to them, and they can tell you no. Ravelry can say no. We're not okay with you creating this app so non-Ravelry users can utilize our database. Also, in the terms of use is you may not use the API to create applications that in any way compete with or diminish the need for any of Ravelry's own commercial applications. So, but they're not competitive. They're not competitive. Again, though, if I recall correctly, because I went in this morning and I did read the terms of use for the API myself, and I think there is an exception in it, again, which just says, unless we give you permission otherwise. I'm summarizing, and I'm doing that from memory. I may be wrong on that. Another quote from the terms of use of the API. "You may not use the API in any manner which may damage Ravelry's reputation or commercial operations." And lastly, "You may only use data and or content collected from Ravelry in a manner that is consistent with Ravelry's wishes." And I did check this morning, and the API, the terms of use of the API was updated last November of 2020. And one of those things about all of those terms of service is that all speaks to we keep control. Even if you're not, Cassidy's saying we're not competitive, we're happy to work with anybody. But the fact is, they're still going to control the database. And let me just say up front, well, not up front, but let me just say now that I think reading through the terms of use, all of the sort of requirements in order to use the Ravelry API make sense. They're very reasonable. These are very reasonable terms of use for a third party to come in and be able to have access to your database, your proprietary database, because the Ravelry database is proprietary. Whether Cassidy says that or not, it's proprietary because they control it. And I mean it in that sense. Maybe legally it's not proprietary, but practically it is because they control it. And it just speaks to what I called last week, their decentralization contradiction, which is saying we need to decentralize this database, and yet everything in their terms of use as of right now does not decentralize the database. They keep that database well within their control. And as a business, that totally makes sense. But as terms of the manifesto, bit of a contradiction. And I think it's just like, look, maybe they're in the process of updating their terms of use or reconsidering how they want to approach that so they can have a more open system than what it is. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that. I'm just saying it's a possibility. What I am saying is that their terms of use as it is now is not in line with that manifesto, except for the fact that if I wanted to develop a third-party app that might compete with their business, I could reach out to Cassidy and say, hey, can we work something out? But that's not decentralization, and that's not community owned. As Kathleen Sperling said in her blog post, which again, I encourage you to read in full. I'm just doing some quotes here. If a database's terms of use are directed by a single end user, which in this case would be the Ravelry LLC and Cassidy and Jessica, it's not decentralized and community owned. So, yeah, I mean, it's just more evidence to what I was speaking to last week, and better explained a little bit like API, how it works, and what is Ravelry in terms of a business. And whether Cassidy's manifesto is... I believe Cassidy's manifesto, I said this last week, I stand by it. I think Cassidy's manifesto is 100% sincere and 100% well-intentioned. I just also think that practically speaking, it's what she's saying and what Ravelry does are not this, they don't appear to line up, in my opinion. That's an opinion. Like I said, maybe they're making changes. Maybe they're considering changes to how they're operating and the API terms of service. I don't know. But, yeah. So let me know if you have any questions, any thoughts. If not, I think that's really all I wanted to catch up with on that. And we can move on to the main topic of the week, which things that make you go, which frankly, the whole Cassidy manifesto last weekend was definitely making me go, huh? What? Huh? Because it just, like I said, a lot of talk was around the NFTs. And like I said, that's a whole big topic. Because to even understand what an NFT is can be a bit of a mind bender if you're not familiar with cryptocurrency. I mean, it's not impossible to understand. It just takes a second to wrap your head around it because in some ways it doesn't make sense. Okay, so just real quick. NFT, non-fungible, because I feel like I'm talking in code. Non-fungible token, what does that mean? Something that is non-fungible is basically an item of value that is unique. So a fungible, sometimes it's easier to understand it this way. Something that's fungible is not unique. So I have a dollar bill, you have a $1 bill, we trade $1 bills, we both end up with the same amount. It's not unique. They both have value, but there's nothing unique in the value of the currency itself. A non-fungible item is something more like a painting. If I have a painting and I sell you that painting and I get money in return, the money I receive is fungible, but the painting you receive is non-fungible because it's unique. It's not like anything else in the world. You own it. That's what non-fungible is. In the digital art world, in the world of digital art, it's difficult to have like proprietary exclusive ownership because it's out there on the web. Anybody can access, anybody can look at it. So what a non-fungible token does is basically creates a unique certificate that you own that says you own that digital art. That's all it really is doing. But it doesn't give you exclusive access to the digital art. It doesn't give you copyright. It just gives you the ability to brag that you own it. That's my understanding of it. And if you're sitting there based on my very quick, non-technical explanation of an NFT, and you're going, well, how does that have to do anything with knit patterns? Exactly. It doesn't. But anyway. All right, so it doesn't appear anyone has any questions or comments, so we're going to move on today in our topic and talk about the things that make us go, So here is, I already explained what I meant by things that make you go, but I'll just restate it again since we're starting the topic, which is, it can be something that we are learning for the first time that never occurred to us before. Something that we learn from somebody that changes our perspective on how we've been doing something, or maybe a technique that in the past we've rejected, but now we're giving it a second look because somebody has explained it to us in a way that made us go, maybe I have been thinking about this the wrong way. Or it could just be, something that makes you internally cringe. So what inspired this topic was I was on the internet, as I often am because of all my stuff that I do. And actually, can I get there? I can. And I came across, somebody asked a question about what do you do when you're knitting and you come across a knot in your ball of yarn? And this is a very common thing that happens. A lot of times when yarn is being manufactured, when it's getting wound, sometimes the bit of yarn they have comes up short to a full skein. And so what the manufacturer will do is just take the next strand and tie it on so that they can get the full amount of yarn that's supposed to go in that skein. That happens. What happens a lot of times is that while the yarn is getting wound, the strand breaks. And so they tie the two ends together to keep winding it because you don't want to waste that yarn. And there it is. Okay, cool. So what I was taught about this is that those knots that you may find in a ball of yarn are not meant to hold. Like, they're just doing a quick knot to get the thing together, and it's not meant to hold together. Oh my God, that's so funny. Yes, exactly. Oh, curse loudly. I always curse loudly. Exactly, Mr. Me. I always curse loudly too when I come across a knot in my ball. It's very frustrating. It's very annoying, especially if it happens in like a self-striping yarn at a color brick. Oh, it's hard. Terrible. Or at it's so hard. Anyway, but yeah. So what I was taught to do was you cut out the knot and then you rejoin the yarn like it's a new ball of yarn. And that totally makes sense to me because the other thing you got to understand about this with me personally is that I was taught with knitting that it is a faux pas. Not just less than ideal, most often a faux pas to tie a knot in your knitting. Like, you do not want knots in your knitting. That's what I was taught. So I just have this internal thing about knots. Now, look, I do think there's a time and place for knots with knitting. There's certain like novelty yarns where it's really hard to avoid it. I think there's some knitted items, like home good items, like dishcloths, washcloths, that sort of thing, where a knot doesn't really matter that much and can be the most secure way to secure two ends with cotton. So there's situations where knots make sense, but it's still where anytime I choose to do a knot, I'm always like, oh, I feel so wrong because this is just so not ideal. But hey, you get past those things. But somebody, when this question came up on the platform I was on, somebody answered, oh, I just knit past the knot. And this was very much my reaction when I saw that. This is my Twitter, and this was my reaction, just like, what? Why would you do that? Why? Why would you knit past the knot? Like, what? So that was my personal reaction. I cringed hard. It just went against everything I've ever learned about knots. And I guess there was part of me too that, like, I sat there and like, now, trust me, I am not a fan of weaving in ends. It's one of my least favorite things to do in knitting. I have projects still not finished because I just haven't gotten around to weaving in the ends. But at the same time, like, just cut out the knot because it's not necessary. Like, just cut it out and rejoin. But I did post about this on Twitter, and there were a number of people who admitted, who said, yeah, I just did past the knot. And I thought it was just very interesting. And I would say it's changed my mind, but I think I cringe less after that conversation, where I was like, okay, I see what you're saying. It's not the choice I would make, but I'm not gonna like side-eye somebody doing that. One person said, I'll just quote them. I don't know if they want to have their thing highlighted on my live stream, so I'm just gonna like quote them. If I can find it real quick. If not, then forget it. Basically what they said was they felt like the manufacturer would do a better job at knotting the two ends together than they themselves could. But this actually also led to me wondering something, which is if there's a different attitude towards knots in crochet versus knitting. And I don't really have an answer to that question. If you know, please let me know in the chat or in the comments below, because I do sit there and I'm like, I can understand how knots in crochet would not be as big of a deal as knots in knitting, because it does seem to me that the knot in a crochet chain would get much more easily hidden and stay put and may not cause any irritation if it's rubbing against the skin the way that it might in knitting. Because what I was always taught about knots with knitting, and the reason you want to avoid them when you can, is that knots had a tendency to work from the back of the work to the front, and that ain't ideal. Two, on garments, something worn against the skin, that knot can be a little bit of irritation against the skin. That's less than ideal. And the third reason, and this is actually something, which is knots just can come undone. Even the strongest knot can come undone. So that's what I was taught about knots. But apparently people are like, yeah, perfectly happy to just go check that it seems strong enough, keep knitting. And I'm like, you know what? Who am I to judge? Not a choice I would make personally. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that something that makes you go, Do you have feelings about knots in your knitting? Is it different if it's crochet? Let me know. Let me know. Let's see, Mr. B. Knots in crochet are much less noticeable. Yeah, and I can see that because, I mean, it's not in crochet, you're not making knots per se, but you've got those chains. And I think crochet by nature is a much more textured stitch than what knitting can be. Obviously, knitting, depending on what kind of stitch pattern you're using, you can create quite a bit of texture. But if you're just doing stockinette, like, a knot is going to just be right there in your face to see. But even, here's the thing.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, baby. Hi, honey. I'm doing my live stream right now. Hi, baby. How's it going?
Mom, I go to the park.
Did you go to the park? Yeah? Okay. Can I talk to you later? I'm talking with my friends right now.
We want to talk.
I'll talk to you in a bit. I'll be done soon. I love you. Okay, my daughter's figured out how to open that door. We have a little child protection thing on the door. and she clearly was able to figure it out, or it came off. I don't know. Normally she hasn't been able to open that door. Oh my god. So thank you. Yeah. Yes, it was a very cute interlude. That was my daughter. Oh my god. You probably have heard her in some videos because she's pretty loud. She's like me in that regard. She's very loud. So, knots. Whitney, I undo the knots. Yes. And that was something else too. Like, I was like, okay, fine. You want to knot the two ends together. Maybe you want to use magic knot. That's something I like. But honey, close the door. Close the door, please. Honey, I love you. Close the door. Thank you. Yep. I'm going to have to start locking the door. It's live. Never know what's going to happen when you go live. So, I was like, okay, all right, you're fine with knots, but at least undo it and make your own knot. That was my feeling, like, because those knots really are not meant to be, like, last. I was like, and that was something with me, and this is me personally. Even if I were going to go, you know what, this is cotton, it's for a dishcloth, F it, I'm going to just cut out the knot and then make a magic knot. I would much rather myself make the knot myself, because if anything happens to that knot, I'd much rather be responsible for it. Be like, well, you took your chances, as opposed to kicking myself because it's like, you knew better. You knew better than to trust that knot. But that, again, that's me. That's how I am about it. So, something else though that I came across is, oh, wrong thing. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. I gotta come to my notes. Come on. There we go. Excuse me. Okay. Oh, I thought this was so fun. This was definitely one of those things where I never thought about it and made me go, I was on Twitter last night and somebody was talking about eating a snack while knitting, and someone's like, yeah, I need to be one of those knitters that uses tongs to eat Cheetos. And my mind went, wow, of course. Of course. And not just Cheetos, any snack. Popcorn, Doritos, chips. Look, knitting is a daily activity. Oftentimes we're snacking. People say you shouldn't drink wine or, some adult beverage while you're knitting. I say pshaw to that. As we know, if you watched my my spinning and yarn video about mystical creation yarns, where I was drinking a Bloody Mary throughout the whole thing. And yes, I did spill some on my project. And no, I did not teach me a lesson, because yes, I'm still drink sometimes while I knit. My point being though, while we knit, we often snack, we often drink. Why not use little mini tongs while we do it? And that way we can keep the food stuff, whether it's the cheesy dust from Cheetos or just the little bit of greasiness from whatever you're eating. Keep it off your fingers, keep it off your fiber, keep it on the tongs. And I'm like, honestly, pretty sure today I'm going to hop on Amazon and I'm going to buy some mini tongs now for snacking. Some people use chopsticks, and I love chopsticks, but I'm thinking, you know what? I think it'd be easier to just have a set of mini tongs in my notions bag, so it's just there with me. Right, Mr. Me? Right? Oh my God, mind blown. So in the description box, #cheeky plug, I did put a affiliate link to some mini tongs that I'm planning to buy that somebody recommended to me on Twitter, if you want to take a look at those. Because I think this is the new thing going in my notions bag. Because, brilliant. 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 So what's something, is there anything that has made you go, didn't think of that before? Why did I think of that? Why didn't I think of that sooner? This is why we need one another. This is why you have a crafting community. Because no one person can have all the best ideas. You know, we all need to help each other have the best ideas. And trade ideas. And experiment with ideas. You know. You know what? I'm sorry. I gotta go back to the Ravelry thing because this was something I was thinking about this morning in the shower, and I didn't put it in my notes. But I just speaking about community and fiber community, I just need to go back to this real quick. Something that occurred to me while I was reading through this whole API and thinking about the Cassidy Manifesto. And again, I don't know Cassidy and Jessica. I don't know their thought process. I'm sorry, I gotta put this up. Mr. Me, you are like getting a starring role. I feel like you're my co-host today on the live stream. Thank you for participating. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all of you who are watching right now. I appreciate everyone who makes comments. Like, thank you. But I just love this. I like tortilla chips. I like them too. You can just not eat those with a fork. You can't. But you can eat them with mini tongs. But, okay. So going back to Ravelry, fiber community, I have to say this. Something that occurs to me is, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's in Cassidy's manifesto. She describes, like, I'm summarizing from memory, so I may not have this absolutely correct. She says, like, you know, we didn't intend Ravelry to be the cornerstone of the online fiber community. I don't think she distinguished online. I think I'm doing that. But like I said, I'm summarizing from memory as best I can. And look, Ravelry definitely has been a big part of the fiber community online since it started, especially with starting up the groups and the forums. It's definitely true. But I do kind of wonder, this is totally speculation on my part. This is totally speculation. But I do wonder, based on what was written, if Cassidy sees Ravelry as the fiber community writ large. If that makes sense, where the fiber community is Ravelry and Ravelry is the fiber community. Because she says things in her manifesto like, this was built by you, you own it, even though no Ravelry member owned most Ravelry members don't own it. I mean, obviously Cassidy and Jessica are members of Ravelry, and they own Ravelry through the Ravelry LLC, but nobody else owns it. They own it. But the other thing about it is just like, she said something like, we're proud. You know what? Let me just bring it up. I have the screenshot. I can read it to you. It's not in this folder. It's in this one. I'm not going to bring it up on screen. I'm just going to like look at it so I can read it. I'm proud we've kept, I'm quoting, I'm proud we've kept space for this community to own its own infrastructure, prioritize its own need, and connect designers to makers without being exploited by an intermediary. And, you know, I think she's saying, like, the Ravelry community. But there is an implication that she's talking about the larger fiber community. Or at least that was something I was inferring. And it's just as like, but the community doesn't own that. You do. And you're not the entire fiber community. There's a whole online universe of fiber artists who have connected through other forums, who don't even know what Ravelry is. Like, I'm on several different Facebook groups, and all the time someone goes, what's Ravelry? Like, so there's an entire community of entire cohorts of the Fiberverse online that have nothing to do with Ravelry. And I think that getting a little lost sometimes. Like, the fiber community online existed before Ravelry, and it will exist post whatever is happening now with Ravelry. So anyway, I just had to get that off my chest real quick. But yes, the tortilla chips, amazeballs. So those were the two things that really made me go, something else. Seams in knitting. Now, this is something I get because I was once the person who refused to do seams. I refused to have anything to do with projects that involved seams. And what I came to realize for myself personally, and this was my own experience and journey, was that it was because I didn't know how to do them. It really was. I didn't know how to do them well. I wasn't confident in doing seams. And so my reaction was to avoid them. And one day I decided to take a class on how to do seams. And it totally changed my perspective. And now I'm like, I'm fine doing seams. I think there's a lot of advantages to doing garments in particular with seams, that it does provide more structure, better structure for a sweater because in various things. And so that was definitely like something that I had to kind of check myself on in terms of my own attitude towards seams, which was to embrace them more and to go, you know what, this isn't so bad. This isn't such a terrible, tedious thing to do if I know how to do it well. Now, that's not going to be everyone's experience. Not everybody, like, some just don't like seaming. You just don't like seaming, and that's okay. And it's fine if you then stick to projects where no seams are involved. Totally legitimate choice, you know? But yeah, that was something in my own past where I had to, like, I really changed my own perspective about seams. And what inspired me to learn how to do seams and take a class on seaming was somebody explaining how seams provide more structure to a sweater than an unseamed garment. And when they explained to me sort of the engineering of it, because that's what it is, it's engineering, I was like, it totally changed my perspective. And that change in perspective inspired me to learn a skill set that I had avoided for years. Oh, have a great day, Whitney. Thank you so much for joining us. If you don't know, Whitney has been a longtime supporter of my community and member, and just so grateful that you were here today and you were able to make some time. But I think now with that last little bit, it is time to hop in to a little fun of looking at the pretty things made with string and doing a little pattern spotlight. All right, so I just got to make sure that I have my stuff set up. I'm gonna close that. I'm gonna come here. So, like I said, I don't have, not a ton of updates. Haven't gotten a lot of new pattern releases lately. In fact, last weekend, I didn't even update Fiber Happenings because I didn't see any new pattern releases, and nobody had sent me in any new pattern releases or news that they wanted to share on Fiber Happenings, so I didn't even have an update. But there was a new pattern that came out this week that I definitely want to make sure that I highlight. And this is from Marlene Souter, Chaos Out of Order. This is a new pattern. It is a crescent-shaped shawl that combines stockinette stitch with rows of eyelet. I think this type of project, first of all, and it was designed with hand-dyed yarn in mind. This was designed to work with hand-dyed yarn. And I do love the look of this shawl. And let's look at the PayHip store where we can see more photos of it. Here you can see it spread out wide. And what I love about this, I think not only is this a great pattern to work if you have variegated yarn, a hand-dyed yarn, because sometimes it's tricky to know what projects to do with those sorts of kind of big color changes. I just love the way it combines the stockinette stitch with the eyelets to create this, what appears like textured stitches, right? It's so cool. But I think this is a great pattern if you're a beginner at lace knitting. If you've been wanting to kind of get a taste of lace knitting and try your hand at that, this would be a really good project. This would be an excellent project to do that because it's mostly stockinette, but you have just an insert of eyelets. And basically lace knitting is all built around knitting eyelets. So this is a way to kind of get your foot into lace knitting if you're interested in that. So yeah, I just really think that was a very, very cool pattern from Marlene Sauter. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. That's always very important to me. I do try to pronounce people's names correctly. I spent a lifetime with my maiden name having it mispronounced and correcting people, and people, close family members sometimes, still mispronouncing it. But that's my own personal trauma. That I'm being hyperbolic, obviously. It wasn't that traumatic. Okay, so next is actually a bit of news. This is not a new pattern release, but Sarah Dawn of Sarah Dawn's Designs does have her monthly featured pattern and knit along. This is the Ice Cream Sundae sock knit along from Sarah Dawn's Designs. And it's a sock pattern. I think it's lovely. Here's the Etsy page, so we can really zoom in on the pattern. And it has a really lovely movement to the stitches. It looks like it's kind of a lacy, there we go. Yeah, this is a lacy knit pattern. You can see the eyelets, and it has a lovely stitch movement. And this is being done obviously with hand-dyed yarn and with some variegated color changes, but I think this would be really lovely in a solid or a tonal sock color. It would be really lovely. You could really see the stitch movements with a solid. So, and I believe that looks like a flap and gusset heel. Yeah, that's a flap and gusset heel. So yeah, that is, and it is on sale for this month for 50% off. And each month, Sarah Dawn has a make along where she has a pattern, a featured pattern that's for sale. And yeah, you can always take part in that with her patterns. And yeah. So that was the 2 updates from Fiber Happenings. Of course, you can always check out Fiber Happenings, which is knitsforitsat.com/Fiber Happenings. Link down in the description box. And you can see all the patterns that are up on the page right now. And on the blog, I need to do my blog post from last month. But now on the blog, at the beginning of the month, or the end of the, anyway, I'm not speaking clearly and I apologize. But each month, basically, I do a blog post that summarizes all the new patterns that came out from the previous month and my pattern of the month. So you can always go back and look at that blog post to see all the patterns that have come out. But I kind of, for the Fiber Happenings, I kind of have to rotate what patterns are on that because of various technical reasons. Let's just put it that way. Technical reasons. Okay. So we got a little bit of time left. Wow, we're moving really well today. I'm very excited. And we're going to do a designer spotlight. And this is, I don't know if this designer has been on Fiber Happenings, but I was just like going, who's somebody I can highlight today, because not a whole lot of new patterns were released in the last couple of weeks. And I came across Rebecca Milton in the Fiber Indie list. And I was like, let me highlight her work. She has an Etsy store called the Knittastic Folk Stone. Most of her patterns are socks. She also has a couple of shawls. And I just think there's some really lovely pieces here. The first one I'm going to highlight is this one, which I love the name of this sock so much, which is Something Prickly This Way Comes. I love this title, or I love the name of this sock, because Something Wicked This Way Comes is like one of my favorite Ray Bradbury books. and like Disney movies from my childhood. It scared the bejesus out of me when I was a kid. But let's take a look. And this has such a neat like motif right here. I believe that's a thistle. Maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that's a thistle pattern along the side of the sock. And that is so cool. And what's neat is that it also has this little bit of cabling that runs up either side of the sock. And what I love about this type of sock, and in a way I'm kind of doing the same thing with the project I'm working on right now, is that it gives you part of the sock has a little bit of adventure in it, right? The little bit of cabling, the little bit of the knit pearl combination to create this motif. But a good portion of the round is going to be plain stockinette. So you get a little bit of adventure and then you get a little bit of rest in one round. And I really love that. Also, this sock, clearly, it's worked with a short row heel. I'm not sure, because I didn't look at these patterns before I came on. I was just like, I'll just read it. Yes, it is a thistle motif. Let me just do this real quick while I scroll so you don't have to learn more about the larger. I'm trying to see if it's knit from the toe up or from the cuff down. You know what? I know the answer to this. Based on that thistle motif, this has to be knitted from the toe up. So I believe that this is although I don't know. What I'm trying to figure out is if the toe is knitted as a short row, and I believe it is. I believe it's both a short row, toe, and heel. And the reason I can say that it's knitted from the toe up and not cuffed down is because of the direction of that pattern. It would just make the most sense for this to be knitted toe up. So yeah, really, really lovely. That's so cool. I might buy it. I might just buy it myself. All right, I'm gonna close that. Let's see. Let's take a look, because I love green and purple. Let's take a look at this shawl together. This is called the Folk Fusion Shawl. Gosh. And it looks like a semi-crescent shawl, but let's zoom in here. I love the textured stitches. I'm trying to see if I can zoom in more. There we go. Oh, it's lovely. Kind of similar to the Chaos Out of Order shawl in that it has these inserts of eyelets, but you've got this neat textured pattern, and I can't tell exactly what that textured pattern is from the picture. I'd have to zoom in a lot more. Maybe she says in her description. Oh, sorry. I should have zoomed in on that for you so you could see the whole thing. Let me just solo this, actually, so you can see it better. Let me see if I can really zoom in. I can't tell exactly what stitch pattern that is. But you know what? It might be an all-over lace with some garter thrown in, but it's very pretty. I love the color combination. I'm very big on green and purple. Let's see. The Folk Fusion Shawl is a large semicircular shawl. It requires 200 grams of sock weight yarn in 2 contrasting colors. The main body of the shawl is knit in a garter slip stitch pattern, keeping it interesting but simple to follow, and creates a gorgeous texture. And there are also eyelet hole sections. So yeah, that is that pattern. I think it's really cool. I love the color combination that she chose for it. And I love that it's a garter stitch, slip stitch pattern. Slip stitch patterns are some of my favorite stitch patterns to work because they create such interesting effect, and they're very simple to do. If you are a beginning knitter, like, slip stitch patterns are one of those knitting techniques that is really easy to learn to do, really easy to do, and gets you results that make other people go, holy crap, you know how to do that? It's simply sensational. It's how I think of it. Simply sensational slip stitch patterns. I love them. Love them. Sorry, clicked the wrong thing. We're going to now go back to here. Yes. And we have time to look at one more pattern. I'm just going to click on this one because it's a semi-tonal. It's a semi-solid. That's the word I was looking for. It's a semi-solid yarn in it. And again, you have a very neat textured pattern. This is called X Marks the Sock. I love the name of X Marks the Sock. I love the name of her patterns. That's something I'm like not good at, is naming patterns. She's very good at it. I like it. But this is a cuff down sock with a heel flap and gusset and beautiful lace panels. I'm quoting from her description. But yeah, again, really lovely use of texture. That's something I'm noticing in her work, is she really combines texture and lacy bits very nicely into the pattern. And you get this lovely eyelet. Let's see. Let's look at what the toe looks like so you can better see the motif. Really pretty. Really pretty. Classic classic cuff down construction on that. So yeah, that is some of the work from Knittastic Folkstone. The designer is Rebecca Milton. You can find her on the Fiber Indie list, and I'm pretty sure I put a link to her Etsy store down in the description box. I know I did. If I didn't, I will definitely put it in after the live stream is over, which will be very soon. But yeah, check out her work if you would like. So we're going to solo that. So I think that is everything for this week. Unless anybody has any last minute thoughts, feelings, opinions, anything you'd like to share. I'd love to get final thoughts from anybody who wants to offer them. So next week, as we are wrapping up, let me tell you what's coming up for the channel. I am right now working on editing my latest video, which is one that I've been talking about for a while, and I have been promising, which is me breaking down the knitwear in the movie Misery. And let me just tell you, sometimes you shoot a video, and it's a little bit between the time that you shoot it and when you actually are able to sit down and start editing it, and you forget some of the things that you said. And let me just say, and I know this sounds egotistical, like I'm tooting my own horn, because I am tooting my own horn, not necessarily egotistical, but anyway. I made myself laugh out loud yesterday watching the video. There's something I said in it where I just I nearly did a spit take. And I don't know if everyone's going to love it, but I can already tell this is going to be one of my personal favorite videos that I've ever done. So really looking forward to sharing that with all of you. The thing is, though, it is a lot of footage that I need to cut down. I'm hoping to have it done and up for all of you by next Friday. We'll see if I make that deadline. If I don't, if it's late, then I might do a Knit Tea Live next Sunday to kind of make up for the fact that I don't have a new video up. So yeah. Oh, hello, Eugenia Reed from Princeton. Thank you so much for Princeton, British Columbia. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome, welcome. So glad you're here. So keep an eye out for what is going to happen next week. I'm going to try to get the video up. If I don't, then I will probably do a Knit Tea Live. So if you want to keep abreast, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, because I will put announcements up in the community tab for my channel, Carrie Craft Geek. You can also follow me on social media. I'm very active on Twitter. I'm active on Instagram. You can follow me in those places and really keep up to date with what's going on. Again, all that information is down in the description box. That sounds like a fun video. I hope it's a fun video. I think it'll be a fun video. The way that I did it was I actually sat down in front of the camera and watched the movie and recorded myself as I kind of gave live reactions to things. So I'm gonna I'm not gonna you're not gonna have to sit through me watching the whole movie. I'm gonna bring in the good bits, right? But that's how I shot it. So did the social media. So if you are watching on the replay, or you're just, not ready to use a super chat, that's cool. But you still want to help kind of support my channel monetarily, you can always buy me a coffee. Link to that is down in the description box. Or you can use one of my affiliate links. And again, I have to do these plugs. I'm sorry, but I have to do them. It's almost a requirement. It's not a requirement, but I do need to do them. But if you leave me a tip or you use one of my affiliate links, any tips I receive, any commissions I receive from affiliate links get reinvested back in the channel. Tips from my Buy Me a Coffee are always earmarked for a specific goal. Right now, my goal is to basically fund another year of my website's plan. So that's what I'm saving those tips up for, because my plan is going to be expiring in a couple of months soon. So I'm saving up tips so that I can, keep paying for my website. So that is my current goal. But you can always see what my goal is for my Buy Me a Coffee tips on my Buy Me a Coffee page. Again, link down in the description box. But of course, as always, the best way to support my channel, and it's free, is to hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell, and let other people know about my channel. All these things, commenting as well. When you comment, that lets YouTube know, hey, people are really enjoying their channel. They're engaging with her. So comments really help support my channel. Positive comments, hopefully. Hopefully positive comments. So yeah, I think that is everything for this week. I hope that you have a wonderful week ahead. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. Again, as always, thank you so much for joining me. I hope, I already said that. Sorry, I'm babbling a little bit at this point. But again, have a great rest of your day. And as always, happy health and happy knitting. Bye.